Good morning. Good afternoon. So, I'm missing. Hello, welcome. So happy Monday, everybody. I'm going to start dropping in the MTTP in the top of the agenda each week. But this week is super good news. Well done, Yorick, Robert. I was very happy to see this number drop back into sensible realms again today. So last week it was looking super hairy. So nice work. I have actually done some kind of digging through last week and the some of the things that factored into that. So I'll write that up, like mostly just of interest and nothing totally shocking, just how painful it is when we have early morning, like master failing, and that sort of like unsurprising, right? But yeah, so nice work there. On the announcements front, so I just wanted to make sure there's new family and friends days have been announced. I'm also going to follow up and see if we can, although they are awesome, I'm going to follow up and see, not to change these ones, but in the future, if we can not put them right before the 22nd, because it's quite painful. So we'll see if we can actually push them out further down. But still, these are good to have in the calendar, and you can look forward to those. And then I wanted to make sure everyone had seen the changes to the equity refresh policy, MR. Have a read through it, have a read of the comments. Please add a comment if you have a question or thoughts you'd like to share. It's a manager mention, MR, so ping me on that one, and we'll make sure you get an answer. But that's going to move quite quickly, I think. So if you haven't read it already, then prioritize it earlier in this week. Oh, Alessio.
Sure. Okay. So are we going to read the announcements, or we just move to the discussion?
Whichever you prefer. If there's anything you want to highlight in the announcements, go for it. If not, or Henry as well. Like, yeah, if there's anything you want to highlight in your announcements, go for it.
Well, let's go with it this time. Now we'll see. Maybe we get better over time with this. So these are the first epic is the single pipeline. And basically, Myra and I scoped part of the work for triggering every single environment. So she's picking up this type of work. And this is something that we provide as some hooking point for rolling back. So the next agenda item. So regarding the rollback, I just went through some of the issues. I created some follow-up items for the chat-ops command, also based on the introduction of tracking running deployments. And so there's a link of items and things like that. I closed some issues, so just that's it. Henry, next item is yours.
Yeah, I just wanted to update you that I committed some stuff of the readiness review for the API move to Kubernetes. I looked into this a while, but I didn't commit much because I was still reading about it. And so there are a few draft MRs out now, but they're not fully finished yet. So maybe don't start reviewing it already now, but there's something at least to look at if you are interested in, and I aim to get this as complete as possible. I could copy a lot of the already existing WebSockets and Git HTTPS readiness reviews, but I also wanted to add a little bit to the API service on itself. That's why it took a little bit longer, because we don't have any runbooks for specific for the API service or architectural overviews or things like that. It's more spread over all other documentation. So that's included in the first MR for the second MR for runbooks there. Yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to say.
Nice, thanks for sharing. Cool, Alessio.
Thank you. So something that I realized with Amy today, we were discussing about this rollback check, and there was kind of confusion about terms, because we always refer about rolling back, we have two versions in mind, so current and previous, but then we realized that if there is an ongoing deployment, then we have three versions. So we wanted, so the idea here behind this issue is we should think about how we want to, the name of those things, and have a common vocabulary around this, so that we always refer to what is being deployed at the moment, or the last successful production deployment, the one before that, with the same term, so that we always understand what we are talking about. So, I mean, please chime in the issue, or if you want to. And my proposal was about ongoing for the things that started but is not yet completed, then current for the last successful production deployment, which in case of an ongoing deployment will not be the whole fleet because it's getting updated. And previous is the last successful deployment before the current one. So this is my thoughts, but I don't have strong opinions.
Pretty similar. I'm wondering about current. Might have to think about. I wonder if it almost does something like it's in use, or something like that kind of distinguishes it from. It's not like the current version on the service. It's like on the server. It's like the version most people have been thinking and using.
So I might be thinking too far ahead here, but in a model where we have multiple versions running in production, I think we're still a couple of years ahead from this, but at that point, the term current or ongoing even becomes even more ambiguous. Is that something we perhaps want to take into account here, or just shelf that until it's an actual concern?
I mean, if you've got suggestions for names, then we should certainly take it. I mean, it's a great. I mean, it'd be great not to have to keep renaming. So yeah, if we could find the.
I don't have right now, but then again, there's only two difficult things in programming, naming being one of them. I think by saying that, I answer my own question as perhaps just ongoing, etc. might be the best choice for now.
Yeah, I think the term current is problematic because if something's rolling out and then it switches where the majority is now the upcoming version and the minority is what was previously running, I think maybe upcoming. I just lost the word I was going to use. I'll come back to you.
Running, stable, live,
latest, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, naming stuff's hard.
I mean, what about if we did take Yorick's thought a little bit further, right? So in an ideal world, like in the future, something we're always going to be deploying, right? Like, because we'll be moving so fast. So what about if we assume that this version is always changing and you have kind of like incoming, outgoing? I mean, it means the number changes. That's super confusing, but
I think that when we will land in that area, we will start talking about packages by their name, because if we have so many,
that's a good idea. Yeah,
so I think that, but right now I think it's premature, right? So, but maybe what do you say? Because you said landing and outgoing. No, you suggested
what about
something.
income? You can have like incoming, outgoing, or something that just kind of implies the movement. Those are not the right names, really.
So you will still have previous, incoming, and outgoing, because you still want to refer to something that was stable before. Because when you roll back,
in the sort of multi-version approach, probably a better way to sort of wrap your head around this is to not so much have, say, a production environment where there's like 15 versions running. Instead, you would have production. You'd have production Yorick, production Alessio, etc. In other words, not so much every person, but every sort of distinct version has its own environment. And I think then you can still talk about, current, upcoming, whatever.
Yeah, because when we discussed this, we're more about having extra stages. So canary is the only extra stage. We have main and canary, because we refer to canary in production, but indeed is all production, and is production main stage and production canary stage. And so in this multi-version world is more about adding new stages.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Maybe we simplify this if we think about what we need for, like, what problem we're solving for now, right? Which is that we want to be able to talk about rollbacks. So we need to be able to identify the stuff to compare packages well enough to decide if we do a rollback, and also to talk about when we are doing a rollback, like what are we changing there. So I think as long as we had words to describe those two scenarios, probably, I guess it doesn't matter too much what they are. We should just consistently apply them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Should we, because this is going to be one, I guess, that we don't have, there's no perfect answer, right? So should we all have a think about it, and then we can just finalize it in the demo meeting tomorrow?
So I had a proposal here. So in that issue, there's another one linked, because I was trying to explain an issue which involved the tree version. So I wrote it out in bold with those terms in bold. So I think the good example would be, could you explain the same concept with your own words, so you can try to write the same sentence, and does it make sense?
Okay, that's a great one. Okay, so for tomorrow's demo meeting, it's like I feel like we're school homework, right? So rewrite the scenario in your own words, and then we can pick the best one in the demo tomorrow, and then doesn't drag on forever, right? Nice. Also, just a small update on rollbacks and production. So Alessio and Marian know I have had various chats today, and we're going to add in some, we're going to try and identify like possible failure scenarios of what might go wrong when we're doing rollbacks. And then we can work out, we'll probably want to test some of these on staging before we try and prod. There might be others that we just like aren't worried about, but we'll just have documented, and we'll put in a little bit of extra sort of detail in the issues before we actually try and roll back in production.
Yeah, there's also an extra actionable item from that meeting, which is we would like to test production with a dry run deployment. But before that, we want to test staging with a dry run deployment to make sure that it's actually a dry run. So maybe this is something we can run tomorrow.
Maybe the Terraform change is going through. That's the only thing we need to be super careful of tomorrow.
Yeah, but we do it on staging, and it's a dry run.
Oh, on staging, yeah, sure, that's totally fine. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Great. One thing I've realized, I'm just going to slide it in this agenda here because it's a little bit of, I completely forgot to put in the announcements. There's an AMA on Wednesday. So what I would suggest, I'd like to share, like announce it and share anything we have to share tomorrow, like 24 hours ahead. So I will put together a bit of an empty slide deck, like a skeleton slide deck, similar to what I did last month. If you want to contribute something, like I know Mario, you had a couple of suggestions, like if anyone wants to actually like put together a short video or put together a topic that we could share, please go ahead, just drop it in there. And then tomorrow around my lunchtime, I'll like fill in any gaps and make sure we have like, say 3 slides that people could have a read through ahead of the AMA. If you don't get a chance, that's also totally fine. Like I think what we could also do is have like a fairly regular AMA, people turn up, ask questions, and we can use that to decide like, oh, here are the gaps. Like we had 3 questions about this topic. So that's clearly a gap, and we can feed it off that way. But if anyone does want to go ahead and create a video or so, then please do that today.
Amy, a quick question about the AMA. Previously, before Jarv decided to leave our team, you at least had one member of infrastructure who could represent the delivery team in that meeting. Both me and Henry are part of the working group for disaster recovery and are unable to attend the AMA. Do we care to have an infrastructure member in that meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should review, like, yes, it would be fantastic to have you both there, really. I think it's totally fine. Like, we can see how we go this month. If there are any questions that we can't handle, that's fine. We can come back to people later with an answer. That's okay. But let's review that and see if the working group is going to go on for like 6 months, a year, then we should see if we can move the time a little bit.
Okay.
Because yeah, I've been kind of deliberately avoiding Kubernetes discussions the last month or so, just so that, you know, we don't go, hey, let's have a big chat about Kubernetes, and then you're not there to like join in, basically. Cool. Cool. And then the other one is exciting. Graham will be joining us next Monday. So Graham is moving over from Core Infra. He is fairly familiar with some of us, at least, and some of our work. He does quite a lot of delivery sort of tasks. You know, he's very interested in Kubernetes. He's helped us a lot with the migration. So it'll be super to have him in here. And he is in APAC, which is also very exciting because it gives us some release manager coverage from the APAC region. So we should find that incidents that run out beyond America's days won't be so painful. Early morning problems hopefully won't be so painful. The main thing, so there are a couple of things. He'll be a special type of release manager. We have to work out the exact details. That's going to be because only Graham is out in APAC. He's also going to be on call, so it won't be quite the same rotation as we have in the other time zones, but certainly he should be able to ease our lives a bit there. And the other one, the bigger challenge, is we no longer have a time where the whole team is online. So what I'm going to propose, I think the most important thing that we do here that Graham will miss, like, so regular meetings and things are fine, like we have recordings, demos and things like that, and no great problem. It's probably the social piece that's the biggest gap, right? Because we don't record that. So what do you think to us having a delivery social Slack channel? We can take some of this async and like kind of supplement our conversation, so it's not like a total you're either in it or you're not in it type of view. And see how that goes, and we can work it out. Like, we could also consider staggering this meeting, so that's like some weeks it's in the afternoons, like or like early mornings for us lot, and then other times it's like more of a time that suits Graham, and we just accept that we won't have everyone on every call. But there are some challenges to that, I think. Cool. Okay, I'll put it in a Slack channel, and then we can chat to Graham next week at least about what he'd like to do, and like, you know, how he, you know, what if there's additional stuff he'd like to do beyond like coffee chats and whatever regular one-to-ones with any of you where he does overlap. But yeah, I'll put together a plan so that we actually can kick things off with him next week. But yeah, exciting stuff. Awesome. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up on this recording?
I've got one, maybe not necessary for the recording, but for the NTTP chart, you put the entire year view. I don't think it's very beneficial to hit the entire year. Maybe just the last 30 days would be beneficial. I don't know, just an opinion.
Yeah, I can do. It will lose the, well, I mean, I guess maybe the last couple of months, right? Like, because you want to know how we're doing against what we were.
Aren't we checking over the last 3 months? When, I mean, our goal in terms of lowering it should, if I remember, is based on the performance of the last 3 months.
That's correct.
So
yeah.
maybe having 3 months.
Yeah, okay, can do that.
It's just not very granular, so.
fair. Okay. Cool. Well, I will stop the recording.